Hi everyone, it's Deb from Project Life Deb's Way again. I've got a terrific Bust Your Stash video this time. I've used a very old paper line from Prima called Apricot Honey, and as you can tell it's got beautiful apricot tones with rose gold, and the florals and everything are absolutely beautiful. You also have a cut apart sheet to give you an idea of the colour scheme. I do like trying every so often to actually use some of my older papers to actually use them up. And any scraps that are left over, I make cards and that to give away. So I will do the whole process through as normal, and just following this I will have the little mug mat that I do for all my cutting of papers and etc., to give you an idea of what papers I use, what I actually cut, so that if you haven't got this paper line, you can use any of the paper lines that you have and just change it up with what you would like to use. So if you do like this video, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button and etc., because then you will get notifications when I do new videos. So let's get on with our fun for the afternoon. Here's a sneak peek at the layout that we'll be doing in this tutorial. Following this, there will be the papers that I use and also the mug mat for cutting directions, and then we will do the cards tutorial for every card that makes this layout. These are the papers that I've selected to use for the next Project Life layout. It's a beautiful apricot coloured themed paper, and I did use this sheet for cutting out, and I cut a few of the flowers. I used most of this swirl paper, and I did cut some of the flowers, but you need to cut out all your cards and that first to see what's left. This sheet here, I didn't use any of these florals here. I used a few of these, but I mainly used the few bits of this cardstock. I used quite a few of these lovely little squares, and I cut one sheet of this. I cut all of these out, but I did use a tiny little bit of the back of this. I cut a few of the butterflies out, but I didn't use any of this sheet at all. So that gives you an idea of the type of things that you will need to sort of do a layout similar to mine, or if you're lucky enough to get these papers or have them. I did use some sort of a little bit of a shimmer card in a sort of a charcoal black, and a sheet and a half of the pink. I used white for my photo mats, and I used a few of these leafy in a green shimmer card as well. So they're the papers I've used, so let's get on with making our cards. So once again, I've got my what I call my mug map for you with the papers that I have used, and I only used one sheet of all of these, and I did cut out these flowers here. So you just need if you divide that up into your 4/8, and that's your 12, you'll find that that piece there, you can actually cut the flowers out. So you can actually cut 4 6x4s and then cut a 2x4 strip, and you need this little tiny strip here for some extra, and then cut all of those flowers out there. You can, if you want, the ones that I've circled are the ones that I've used. cut the other flowers out on the other bit. When you're cutting this one here, I use mainly this side of the paper, but you need a 6x4, a 3x4 and a 3x4. So if you cut a strip, but what you do need is this flower cluster here, which is this one here, which you will need to make sure that you don't cut into so that you've actually got it. So as I said, there is a little mug map, and with the pink you can actually see I've got one 6x4, the rest were cut into 3x4s. With the black you need one 3x4 there, and then I cut lots of little sort of squares and oddments. And this is the white cardstock. I've got 7 6x4s and 14 3x4s, so you will need 2 full sheets and 1 full 12-inch cut into a 4-inch strip, and then cut into your 3x4s. So, and I used a black ink for my edging. For this layout I actually had my photographs organised, so I've actually done all my 3x4 photographs, and I have, in this particular one, I did a full 6x4 photographs because I didn't have as many photographs. So you will actually see me putting my photographs as we make the cards. So let's get on with making our cards. Now here's our first card, which is a portrait, and I have got the 6x4 in the white, the 5 5/8 by 3 5/8, and as I said, you can take a snapshot of this or pause the video, do your cutting so you know exactly what is there with your measurements. Now when you're making the card, I have inked all of my cards with the black, just very lightly. I've done that because I've got black and white photographs, but if you wanted, if you've got a lot of pink, you could actually do it with pink, which would go really, really well. So what we are doing with all of these, they all have a 6x4 white mat, most of them. So we'll just pop that onto our mat so we have that tiny border around our card. Now if you really wanted to save on cardstock, you could actually cut your 3x4s out of the back of this card and use your cardstock, because I know these days cardstock is getting very expensive, and that is a little tiny shortcut. Now I've got my 3x4 with my pink, and I'm going to put my white cardstock onto this. Like so. And being my first card, I have got my photograph. Now I've got my photograph popped in, and what I did is I just took a fraction off the 3x4 photograph so that I've got that tiny white border all around. Now what we do with our card here, I've cut this strip, and if you do your measurements correct, it will just fit on top of the black with those borders around. So we will attach that. It's easier to attach this first before you attach it to the card. But a little hint here is just pop it onto your card just to make sure that you've done your cutting correct, so you can actually see you've got your border. So we'll pop this card, and I've edged this with the black. And we'll just pop it on so it has, and as you can see, that black actually makes that stand out. So now we are going to pop this onto our card here, because I wanted the swirls but I didn't want any flowers, so I'm going to pop that onto my swirly bit. My photograph is going to go up on the top here. So I have got my tape already done. We're just going to pop that on like so. Now I've got a nice little butterfly, which it does come with a butterfly sheet that you can cut some of your butterflies out, or if you haven't been able to get the sheets, you can actually just go into your butterfly stock and use just the same sort of toning of butterfly. So we have got a butterfly here. I've also got one of the flowers from that sheet, and that die cut, I've actually just cut a few of the leaves off, which I'm just going to poke in. Right, so once I've made the decision of where I'm going to actually lay my die cut, I just put a little bit of Tombow glue, which is one of my favorites because it's quite exact, but any of the glues you could use. And because you've got your photograph in, it does make it very easy because you can actually glue things on top. Okay, we'll just put our flower on. And just angle the butterfly so it just goes over the photograph a bit. And there is our first card finished. So card number 2. This one is the one that I said I was going to do it for, and as you can see, I've got my photograph onto my photo mat there, and what I did is I just took 1/8 of an inch off the photograph on 2 sides, and it gives you that tiny little border. So what we have to do with this card, it is really a very, very simple card to do. You just have to put your black card onto your 6x4, and the black card is 3 7/8 by 5 7/8. So once again, and as you can see, to save my cardstock, because this glimmer card is quite expensive, I've actually cut the middle out so I can actually use that bit as well. Just makes your cardstock go that little bit further when you're doing your layering. So that goes down. And then we are going to put our white photo mat on there, which is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. And please, when you're doing these albums, don't go to your cheap shops or whatever and get either glue sticks or cheap tape, because what will happen in 6 to 8 months, all your photographs and everything will come unstuck. It's the same thing as glue dots and things like that. It all does it. So I use Express double-sided tape, and I've found it never undoes. And you will find with this tape, by tomorrow, you can actually see I can actually lift that off now and reposition it, but by tomorrow that will be absolutely stuck fast. And when you're using your liquid glues, make sure that they're acid free and a good liquid glue. PVA glues and things, once again, they do come unstuck. So if you want your things to last, it's okay to use that sort of thing for making cards and that, but it doesn't work with albums. So there we have our lovely layered photograph there. Now here's card 3. We have a 6x4 white mat. your 3 7/8 by 7/8 of the floral, and I've got your 3x4 photo mat done in the black, and then I've done my little photo mat. I have just got a couple of flowers and things, and this here is roughly 1 3/4 inches. Then as you can see, I've made 3 different flags of different sizes, so they can sort of go underneath each other like so. So let's get on with making our card, and I've blacked around the edges. So you get your 3x4 and you layer your first card on the top, so you have that lovely little border so that you're consistent. If you didn't want to do this, you could actually just make this top card just a 6x4 and lay that. Now what I'm going to do here once again is I'm going to put my white photo mat onto the black. Now I beg your pardon, the black card is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, and then I've got my true 3x4 photo mat in place. Now this little explore came off of the cut apart sheet, so I'm going to put that on a little bit of black to make that pop, and I'm not going to edge it because it's against the black, so I don't want anything distracting from that, to make sure that you actually see it. And there we have our little explore done. I've inked the edges of the flags as well. Now because of my photographs are so old and I didn't have many photographs, I could only do this one in a square. So what I'm going to do, which you wouldn't do in your layout, I'm going to cut these 2 pieces of card down just to make them fit. Sometimes with older cards you have to do a little bit of a fiddle like this, but it's so easy to do. I've just taken that off, recut, and now I will just pop my photograph onto that card. But I do try to keep my photographs to the 3x4, particularly if I'm giving these albums away for people to stick pictures, because it's just easier for them. Now your photograph will be slightly up to what mine is, so I'm lifting mine up a bit. Because it's a different size, I'm going to pop my flags, spread them out up to the top there, and then pop my photograph in. And put the flowers and things at the top. So we're going to put our photograph in first. Now I sort of know where everything's going to go. We will pop our first flag up the top. And take that right to the top of your page there, so you don't have that little white area looking at you. And then we'll put our other one just there. This is why having your photographs ready to go is actually rather nice when you're putting these together. So we'll pop. And for the people that don't realise, I do actually make these albums. They are true albums going into my photograph album. So I don't tend to make these just for the videos. I actually do use these layouts. Now I'm going to just pop a flower underneath. That I cut from that sheet. Pop that there. I also found a little leaf on that cut apart sheet which I cut because I thought I might need some greenery of some form. And to keep the same things going through, I have got one little of those black leaves. If you haven't got a die cut, just find a leaf sheet and cut a few extra leaves out and use those. So there we have number 3 finished. This is our last of our portrait 6x4s, and I've got your 6x4 and I've got your 3 7/8 swirly paper cut out. So we'll just pop that down onto our card like so. I have our 3x4 photograph which I'm going to put up towards the top, and I've got my photograph here I'm going to put in, and my photograph was a little bit too small, so I'm going to pop that on and then cut it down so it has the same amount of border as my rest of my photographs do. So I'm just going to chop a piece off to make that uniform so that the whole layout has the same borders like so, so you've got the same amount. So we are going to pop that up the top. Right in the middle. Now I have here once again cut a piece of the card, and that is 3.5 by 1 inch. Now I've done this because I'm using this technique, so you need to do it in a couple of places on your layout so that it is consistent. And this card is just over 3.25 by 3.25, 3/4 of an inch, so that it's just got that little bit of a border round. And that is so when you've got a border on this card, you can actually see it brings consistency to your layout. So now I'm going to decorate this, and I really loved this little word brilliant. So to follow through, I cut a little bit of black there, and I'm going to put that on top of my photograph at the top there. And I'm going to bring my flower into here, and I have a couple of the leaves here. So I'm going to chop them down. Just put the sprays there, and I've got a little tiny ticket which I'm going to work. There we have our flower. So now you know where your little leaves and things need to go. I'll pop them down first. Then I'm just going to glue my flower down. And then I'm going to put my little ticket in. There we have card number 4. Very quickly, I'm not really dressing this one up with lots of florals and things, because being not coloured photographs, I really want the photographs to actually stand out on this little layout. Now these cards are our 3x4s, so I have now put my 2 photo cards, which is just your 3x4 which has been cut, and then this one here is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, and all you have to do with that is just attach that onto the pink card with your border all the way around, and then pop your photograph in, which from memory is 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. Just pop that on top, and there's your 2 photo cards done there. Now the other 2 cards here, you have your white 3x4 on both cards. You have your brown coloured one that came from the floral there, which is 2 7/8. This one here came off of the cut apart sheet, which is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. Now I did use one of the cards, and I've actually chopped it down so that it will actually fit onto my card like that, and I've roughed it all up and I've edged it. So I will just take my writing off. So what we need to do now is pop the first card down, so we've got that little border, and make sure when you cut the back of this that your brickwork runs the same way, so you want it long ways for this one. So pop that on. Then we are going to pop this little card here on the top as well, and then we will start layering our card up. Now for my bits and bobs on this card, I have a butterfly, a ticket, and things, so I thought I'd introduce some tickets here. And then put this one just underneath. Pop a butterfly. Now I'm just going to add a few little flowers just underneath these tickets with some of that little leafage through to keep the continuity running through my cards. And there we have a very quick eye candy card done. The next card here follows exactly the same system. You put your first layering on, and I've edged this in the black. Now with this card here, I am going to pop this little black card down the bottom, just to keep once again that little black, because that's what I've used for my pop of colour, is this sort of charcoaly black, and that's going down the bottom with a border all the way round. Now I did like this, you'll come some kind of wonderful, so I'm just going to pop that there, and then I'm going to build everything else around. Like so. Now I've got a flower here. I've got the butterfly I'm going to put there. Just cut another. So I'm going to put our butterfly down. Put a little bit of foliage in there. Just plonk it in. Put my main flower in, and then I sort of add everything. So the good thing about this glue is you can sort of pop things underneath and then stick them all down. So these cards will work like this. You then have your other cards so one side completely finished for you. Now this is your card number 6, which is our eye candy card. And I have got a title here, but I've got a funny feeling this title is going to be too big for what I want, but we'll see. I'm just cutting my title down, and we'll see whether I like it or not. Okay, so we have got
6x4 white card as normal. We have a 3 7/8 by 5 7/8, and I've edged that in the darker colour. So we are going to pop that onto our white card. And what I'm going to do is, this is one of the cards, I've just cut it out, edged it, and that is going on to the corner of the card like that. I have got this Live with Sympathy, but I'm going to be covering that up. So we'll just do, and just give a little bit of a border there and pop that down. Now I've decided I'm going to put some flowers here, like so. With some of that greenery. Don't like that big long thing there, so we'll just snip that off and pop that under. Pop the tiny little bit there. So I'm going to put a couple of butterflies in here. Now, okay, I've done the wording here. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly stick the florals down first before I pop the flowers in. And the butterfly. And this one, going to slant it away from the words. Now with the words, I think to tone them down just that little bit. Looks better. There we have our title card, or eye candy as I call them. Done. Now we're going to start our other card 6 for our landscape, which has got your 6x4 white card. As you can tell, that's the theme that we're going through. And I've cut this one at 3 7/8 by 5 7/8. So we are just going to layer that straight down onto the card. And as you can tell, if I've used this paper on this side of the layout and our portrait, so I always put a second card on the other side so that your layout works together. So if you cut one paper for one side, you have to cut that paper for the other side. So we've done that. Now, once again, I'm going to do my little down the side, but I haven't measured these out. So I'm just going to eyeball that and cut that with my scissors. And then I'm going to put the strip down. Now this little strip is 1 inch by just over 3.5. And this strip here is 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to just lay that on the card. Get it even. And I'm going to snip part of that card. Now that card is going on this side here. And once again, you're just continuing that theme of these little cards. So you have them on both sides of your layout. Now with this one, I have got my photo. Normally your photograph would run this way, but unfortunately I don't have a lot of those photographs, so I'm running mine this way. So what I've done, I've cut my photograph and everything down so that it will fit. Now I'm going to put this just over a bit, and I've got a floral here to go underneath. Now I'm going to cut this floral a bit because I want it down here. Because I've shuffled this around, because as I said, your full photograph would go here and then your floral. So I'm going to put that there and use this floral here. Going to put my little and then I have my date. So once I'm happy with how it looks, I'll start to put my bits in. You could add a little butterfly to this as well. stick our photograph in. And as I said, your photograph will be a true 3x4, which would go here, and you'd put your sentiment up a bit higher. But sometimes with these photographs, we have to go with flow, because in the old days, photography used to be so expensive that you couldn't afford your lots and lots of photographs like we do today. So there we have our top right hand corner card finished. This is our 8th card, which of course you've got your 6x4 in your white. You then have your 3 7/8 with your 5 7/8, which I've edged in the black. And what that is the back of the swirl. I've used this card, so we need to attach that to our base card. Like so. So there we have our base card down. Now, following the theme, this is the swirl. So I have got a piece here which is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4, so that you've just got a tiny border around there. So we're going to put this little black card down. So we are going to have our other piece, which is that border around, and that piece is 2 inches by 3 1/2. Like so. And then I have got my 3x4 card here, which we will attach. Like so. I have got my 2 7/8 by 3 7/8 card here, and I'm just going to attach my photograph. I've put my photograph on, put the mat down, and then I've got a little cluster of flowers here with my leaf, and I'm going to put a butterfly, but that butterfly is a wee bit too big, so I am just going to do a bit of trimming. Just to make it that little bit tinier and not so bulky. As you can see, that's 100% better for what we want. Now we just need to stick everything down, angle your butterfly so it's not straight. Pop your leaves down. And if your leaves are in the wrong position, just pop them round until you get them right. Good thing about this glue, it does actually dry clear. And there is card number 8 and on to card 9. This is our last of our full 6x4 landscape cards, and I've got your 3x4 in your white, and you need to put your 3 7/8 by 5 7/8 card down, which I've used the back of the peach floral and pop that down. Now once again with this, you normally have your 3x4 card, which you would put that way. You'd put your label, one of the cutouts there, like so, with some leaves. But because I don't have many landscape photos, I have got my photo and I've made it fit to my 4 inches there. So I'm just going to stick this down onto the pink card and cut the excess off. Like so, and then just cut that to fit the piece here, like so. And then you've got a nice little photograph that will fit, and this is how you can do your landscape photographs. So we are going to do our beauty. I'm going to pop this down here, and I might, because there's not enough florals, go to my sheet and find some of the floral and just very quickly pop my card on, and I might also very, very quickly cut my cutout. And don't forget, when you're cutting these, to actually move your paper around your scissors, not the other way around, because it does make life a little bit easier. And see how much better that looks already. Because I had to change where my photograph is, I just had to add a few little tiny bits. So we're going to put our photograph down first. And the beauty, I've just stuck to the black card, cut it out and put it onto the black card, and I haven't inked that because I do want it to stand out. So we are just going to pop that over top of the photograph. I attach my butterfly and my saying little sheet. If you didn't like this one, you could use something else and put some flowers down the bottom. Now we'll put a little flower at the top there. And then I should have a little bit of foliage I'd cut off of something else, and I can just pop there. So there is our card 9, and now we'll go on to our 3x4 cards. These are our last cards that we'll be doing to finish our layout. And once again, I've got my 2 photo cards, which has got my 3x4 pink, and then I've got a 2 7/8 by 3 7/8 white cardstock, which I've popped my photograph on with just a little bit taken off. The photograph actually is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, which just gives you that nice little border on both of those cards. Now for our eye candy cards, I've got your 3x4, your 2 7/8 by 3 7/8 on both of these cards. Now with this one, you have to make sure that your brickwork goes downwards. Not that it really matters, because you don't really see an awful lot of it. So we are going to attach that, and I've inked my edges of that. So that goes onto your 3x4 with your border around the outside. Now this one is the one with love on it. I've just cut around, and we're going to stick that right in the middle of this card. Then I'm going to pop this flower, and you can do a bit of journaling there if you want, and then just stick that down. As I said, it's a great little, I'm going to leave the love there, but if you didn't want the love, you could actually pop that flower or a leaf straight over it, whatever you fancy. I'm just going to pop the leaf there, and I'll do a bit of journaling to sort of say where these people fit in my family once I'm done. Now this is the next 3x4, and this card here is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. So we're just going to pop that down. Onto our card with that little white border. I have cut another flag, which is 2 inches by 3 inches. And I'm going to put that right in the middle of the card, and then I'm going to do my layering. So we'll just take off our tape. Right in the middle up to the top, and I've inked that tag. Now in here I'm going to have just slightly off center, "You are somebody's reason to smile," and I've just edged that with the black. Now I've got a few flowers to add here, a butterfly. Pop that sort of in the middle, line it up. I've decided to put a butterfly on this one. Like so. Now I've got a couple of tags here. That I want to pop in. Because I put some tags on the other page, you try to follow through. I'll put my tags there. And I'm going to put some florals down, just over those tickets to build up some dimension. Put the butterfly down the bottom. Unfortunately, I run out of black ones, so I've introduced some of the green foliage that I had left over. I found the same dye, so I've put green and black in. So there we have our 2 eye candy cards, and they will fit like so. And there we have our right hand side of our layout finished.
Here is your finished layout, all ready to go into my album. I do hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you want to check out any more, I've got tons on my YouTube channel there, so please do go and check them out. And until next time, have a great crafty day. Bye.